get to Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins, because Bobby, you know, this has not been a lock.
No, certainly not. We've been showing you all week models one over here, one way over here, right? It turns out it looks like it does want to go a little bit further south of Tampa, make more of a right-hand turn. And that's been the trend for a day and a half, almost 2 days now, kind of coming closer and closer towards our coast. But that will put the center now, perhaps now down towards Manatee, Sarasota County. Here's the very latest, 115-mile-per-hour winds. One of the good things about its proximity to us now, which is about 330 miles to our south-southwest, is that we're picking it up on radar. That's out of the Key West radar. And so now we're going to get hourly fixes from the National Hurricane Center on exactly where this thing is, because you can clearly see the eye. Hourly fixes like that tell us which way it's moving. In fact, right now, if you look at it, it says moving north at 10 miles per hour. The movement is actually 5 degrees, which is just a little east of north, which is good news for the Tampa Bay area, because if that goes in south of us, we will have much less of a storm surge issue for the Tampa Bay area. But then down towards the Barrier Island, say Longboat Key, especially down, I think Siesta Key is probably going to get more of it than anything else as far as storm surge goes. This is the forecast track from the Hurricane Center. And at this point, when we're tracking storms like this, I like to put this on here. But I want to caution you that this is just the forecast track, and this will likely change. But what this does, it lets us know, the Hurricane Center says, hey, it thinks it's coming in here along the Sarasota County coastline, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, right? But if we see this thing moving to the right of that track, which it kind of already is, we may be able to skirt that whole line further to the east. And so I don't typically, if you've been watching the last week when we've been showing this, certainly in the last 4 or 5 days when we've had a cone, you don't see me showing you this center line, because I don't want you to focus on that, because that center could go anywhere in that cone. But again, at this point in the game here, we're going to go ahead and leave that there just so that you can see where it's moving. This is a 3D view of it. And this is what I was talking about the other day. I was like, look, have those preparations done, because by Tuesday, we're going to be looking at a formidable storm. Category 3, major hurricane with 115-mile-per-hour winds. Now, here's the latest update as of 11 a.m. And you can see it goes to 1:30 this afternoon. 130-mile-per-hour winds, keeps it through early tomorrow morning. This is basically about 2 in the morning on Wednesday. And then Wednesday afternoon is pushing the center on shore with about 120 to 125-mile-per-hour winds. That's going to be right around the center. That's not everywhere, but you can see this track has certainly shifted to the south and the east. Yesterday it was coming up just off the coast. Last night it was coming up across Pinellas. There was one that was actually basically right there along the coast, right over Apollo Beach. The latest one is now over Sarasota County, then Manatee County, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Okay, so that's the track right now. That case tends to blow water out of Tampa Bay, but there will be some surge leading up to it, okay? When the storm's sitting out here and here, it's blowing water towards our coast. The tides will, you just think it's a high tide, but it's going to get a little bit higher. It's not going to be terrible, I don't think, in the Tampa Bay area, but there will be some surge there. Then as the storm comes through, those winds will turn around offshore and blow the water out. It will weaken. You can see a little bit of a curve kind of coming up across the area. Look, if you've been in Florida for any time, you remember Charlie. Charlie was supposed to hit Tampa. Everybody left Tampa, went to Orlando. This storm is going to turn, go down towards Sarasota, could go a little bit further to the south near Punta Gorda, which is where Charlie went in, and it's going to go right up over Orlando. So that's the way these things work here. That's not set in stone, but that's the latest forecast, and so that's what we're thinking. Here are the forecast models. So these models have been out west all 4 days, 5 days. They, too, have come over to the east, and they're the western edge of the models. The UK Met has been doing this for a couple days. It's been in this area right in here. A lot of the models, including the European, the GFS, they're starting to agree with this as well. This is a look at the GFS ensembles. The GFS model run a couple different times, a bunch of different times actually, and you can see where it is. So it's leaning that way. Let's look at the European model. I know this really looks like spaghetti, right? But there's Tampa. There's the majority of it right there south of Tampa. So the trend certainly is to shift this thing south of Tampa for a landfall. I'm thinking, again, down towards Sanibel. This is the computer model that we run here at the station. This is what I show you every day during the rainy season, right? Afternoon showers and thunderstorms, we'll say they're coming from the east or coming from the west. This model updates frequently here, and the last 36 hours, it's been saying this thing comes in south. This is 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. All right? You can see where the eye is. Here we are in Tampa. These outer rain bands will have a chance for tornadoes. We've got a tornado watch down to the south. Meteorologist Rich is going to give you that in just a minute, okay? We'll talk about that, but what I think is going to happen with the overall trend of the storm is to come in down towards Punta Gorda, down towards Sanibel, and then that would be Wednesday afternoon. This is noon. Here it comes right there as we get towards 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. At least that's this model. This is heavy rain, this is heavy wind, and this will slow down a little bit. So we're going to get a lot of rain out of this. 15, 20, 25 inches in some locations. If the center comes down south and it looks like this, there's where you're going to get the heavy band of rain right over top of Tampa, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco County, western Manatee as well too. Now, surge will blow out. It'll be a lot like Irma if this happens, blowing water out of the bay, but there's going to be a little bit of a surge before that. That's the hope for the Tampa Bay area, because otherwise we could be looking at a very large surge event there. This is Wednesday, 11:30. That's Thursday morning, 5 in the morning. You see the center? Right there up near or west of Orlando, and then things will continue to improve as we go through the afternoon on Thursday. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit more about what effects we think we might get, and we'll have a forecast to help you get prepared for the rest of this afternoon and evening.